The Blue Blood, a story by Slime Special 681, Chapter 2. Baron Elmore Drist woke to the sound of his room's door buzzer. He grabbed his service pistol and went to look through the one-way view screen at the door. A young woman in a regalia dress, flanked by two armed guards bearing the royal crest, stood beyond. Elmore holstered his pistol in his waistband and with a small sigh pressed the button to switch the screen into a two-way. "I am Lady Drailea, sixth princess of the Imperium, first daughter of Duke Rizal Thanax and Her Majesty the Empress," the young woman gleefully began the moment the screen flickered to life. It took all Elmore had to resist either saluting or rolling his eyes. He knew of the Thanax girls, he knew of their economic achievements, and he knew the one before him was the least accomplished of the two. "I have come to personally ensure that you get your deployment orders for the upcoming campaign," she said, taking an omnipad from the guard on her right. She spun it to face the camera so he could read it.
"This says I'm to deploy in the spaceport in 2 hours.
"Indeed it does."
"It's stated for yesterday. Why is this the first I'm hearing of it?"
he asked as she handed back the pad to her guard. "Now that's the question, isn't it? It seems our most dear Princess Meat Grinder, our dear second princess, forgot to send the deployment orders at all, but her most loyal supporters." Drailea smiled mischievously. "When the fifth princess and I realized her oversight, we set about to rectify it immediately. Now if you'll excuse me, there are still 10 others in this hotel I must contact," she said with a slight courtesy. Then she was off, down the hall with the guards in tow. He didn't linger long at the door before he started to go about throwing on his old uniform. Fortunately for him, he'd never successfully kicked his shore-leave habit of keeping his bags packed with anything not in immediate use. Perhaps fortune was the wrong way to put it. It had ruined his attempts to convince his fiancées that he actually trusted them and wasn't planning on running when things got tough, and had led to them marrying his first cousin instead. Nonetheless, he was somewhat thankful for it now. He stopped by the bathroom mirror to splash some water on his face and run his fingers through his salt and pepper hair. After making himself somewhat presentable, he started straightening his uniform. His eyes, however, were less focused on what was there as the 5 stars that weren't. A former fleet admiral, he'd been called out of retirement by Her Majesty 2 weeks ago and placed in a hotel. At first he was happy to be called out of his early retirement due to the incident. Over the past week, however, he found out that the reason for his return to form was to advance the second princess's career again. The mere thought of having to serve under that insidious wench after what she pulled last time made his skin crawl. He was nothing if not loyal, though, and he would serve in whatever capacity Her Majesty wished. Elmore stood at the balcony overlooking the Fire Brittle's hangar. Being a dedicated troop carrier, the Fire Brittle was amongst the largest ships in Her Majesty's Imperial Navy. His hangar alone could and did hold 120 Thymarine-class transport shuttles, each capable of comfortably holding 5 pods of Marines and a pilot, with enough leftover room for 2 Shivanti women to walk 2 abreast between them. Alternatively, they could hold 3 Xenos, their pilots, and the shuttle pilot. That was to say nothing for the rest of the behemoth that was the Fire Brittle. All in all, he could hold 50,000 Marines, 2,000 Exos, 84 dedicated strike craft, 50,000 crew, and an additional 1,000 support staff. And the supplies to last them all a 1.5-year-long campaign. The fleet Her Majesty had put together for her daughter's campaign was staggering. It represented about 2/5 of the Imperial's total naval assets. Its mere existence in one place surely left the Imperium vulnerable on multiple fronts. Anyone could clearly see that the second princess intended to wage a campaign of shock and awe. And if Almore's own presence as governor-to-be was anything to go by, she expected a short fight and a lightning-quick implementation of imperial bureaucracy. Almore watched as the last of the ship's passengers, 100-strong unit of the Golden Glaives with the second princess at their head, marched on board. Old habits die hard, and Almore found himself thinking like an admiral again.